My mother-in-law just stabbed me, and somehow I'm the jerk. In brackets, advice please. So, to preface, I've been married 4 years, together for 7, with a 3-year-old. My mother-in-law hasn't liked me since I became a tattoo artist around 5 years ago and gave her son his first tattoo. I'm heavily inked, and now my husband is too. His tattoos are a huge point of contention between she and I. She takes him getting modifications as him, quote, ruining the body she made for him, and has asked him on several occasions if he isn't happy with himself, and goes on these weird woe is me rants. I guess all of the work I did to make you doesn't matter. You hate what I made. I'm the worst mum. How could you do this to me? Etc. She's always been nothing more than passive aggressive. Until today. We made a rare visit to my mother-in-law and stepfather-in-law's house to let our little one play on their jungle gym since he's been begging to go. My mother-in-law was pleasant and ordered us all takeout. It was actually kind of nice. My stepfather-in-law pulled out his phone and asked, "So, what do you think of this?" and showed me a really well done tattoo. I said it was gorgeous. He asked if I could do it, and I said no because it's not a style I'm familiar with doing, but if he gave me time to practice, I'd be more than happy to do it once I figured out how to get the shading right. It's a very specific tattoo done by a well-known artist that is really hard to emulate. My mother-in-law overheard this and made a snide comment about me being a bad influence. I joked back, yeah, being a bad influence kind of comes with the territory, I guess. I stab people a lot for a living. I didn't realise what had happened for a moment, and according to my husband, my mother-in-law moved so fast that it even took him a second to catch on. The female dog had been fiddling around with the fire pit, using a little hot dog roasting pick thing that came to a point. She whipped it towards me and jammed it into the upper part of my arm. I jumped up and started screaming. My husband was yelling, our little one started crying. My stepfather-in-law ushered my mother-in-law into the house and kept yelling, "Sorry, oh my god, I'm so sorry, why would you do that? I'm so sorry, please don't call the police, hold on, I'm coming back, are you okay?" And other word vomit to diffuse us. We packed our little one into the car and my mother-in-law didn't resurface. My husband went inside to confront her while I checked out my arm. It wasn't bad, it didn't pierce very far at all, maybe a quarter of my pinky nail, but there was a good bit of dirt and stuff from the fire pit in my arm, which freaked me out. My husband apparently confronted his mum and stepfather. His stepfather was apologetic and begged him not to call the cops. He asked my mother-in-law why she did it, and she apparently answered, "Well, she said she stabs people for a living, so I was going to poke her and say, 'Now you see how it feels.' But I didn't know my own strength." My husband promised not to call the cops, but said to leave him the F alone unless he contacts her. Sounds good, right? Nope. Less than an hour after this happened, my husband was on my butt about forgiving her. He now isn't speaking to me because I told him I actually do want to call the police, and he said if I did, he'd never forgive me. He actually threatened to grab our child and go to his mum's house tonight if I didn't call her to talk it out. She's texted me over 20 times telling me she didn't mean to, but not actually apologising. I don't know what to freaking do. I don't know how to end this post. My sister told me about this sub a while ago and I've been lurking, but I never thought I'd actually post. This is such trash. Goodness me, what a start to this one. No real build up, no introduction, just bang. I was stabbed by my mother-in-law. Absolutely insane. From my point of view, call the police 100%. I don't know what your husband is doing. Like, this woman has stabbed you. Therefore, you can call the police. I think it's unlikely, let's be realistic here, that anything that bad's going to happen to her. Like, it's not the worst of crimes ever. I don't think. And I don't think you're seriously saying, okay, I want her to be like properly charged and sentenced, whatever, go to prison. But the fact of the matter is, she has stabbed you. I think, calling the police would at least make her consider her actions and go, maybe I shouldn't have done that. Whereas if you don't, she might try something like that again. She does seem pretty unhinged. Now, as for the advice question, I don't know. What is your husband doing? That is all I can say. Like, yeah, I get it's his mum and nobody wants their mum to be arrested. I mean, the majority of us don't. But I feel like this is a step too far, saying if you call the police, I'm not going to forgive you. Actually chat to my mum and talk it out when she's the one that hasn't even apologized in the first place. Oh, and on top of that, I'm going to take our kid and go to my mum's house if you don't do this stuff, or if you call the police. That's very manipulative and very vindictive, and I don't know, we're very early on in this story, but I'm interested to see what happens next and what you end up doing. People in the comments down below, and this is 8 years ago, by the way, this whole story takes place 8 years ago. It's a genuine classic. Said, stand your freaking ground. This is insane. Do not let them force you into speaking with this woman, which I completely agree with. Somebody else said, what the actual F? Take your son and go somewhere. Actually, go straight to the hospital or urgent care. You need that looked at. And that is a good point. Like, that cut could definitely get infected if you're not careful. And your son could be taken by your husband if you're not careful. I would do that as well. Okay, the next day we got an update. Preface. Little one and I are at an urgent care clinic with my sister. We'll be staying with her until my husband finds a new rental. We're safe. Thank you guys so much for all of the advice and help. So, my sister drove over immediately after I called her and told me to pack a couple of bags and come on. This went down within 15 minutes of me posting. She lives less than 10 miles away. I started packing and my husband noticed and started freaking out, crying and begging me not to go. My sister took our child out to the car so he didn't have to see, thank God, and I lost my trash. We both yelled, we both cried. My husband kept yelling that his mum texted him to say she's crying her eyes out and is suicidal because everyone will think she's an abuser when I tell. He asked if I planned to call the cops and I answered yes. He asked me to come and talk to his mum one more time and hear her out before I called. I agreed because I was already feeling trashy. A little note, we actually rent from my mother-in-law. She owns our house and lives up a small fenced hill from us. We're separated by some thick brush, so she can't just walk down. It's a 5-minute drive though. My mother-in-law came over and sat in the chair looking sheepish. The first thing out of her mouth was, "Is the little one here?" I said no. I asked my sister to take him for the night. She sighed and actually frickin' pouted, then said, "You wanted to talk, so talk." My husband later admitted he said he thought I was overreacting and that I would apologize. No. Him saying that emboldened her. Basically, I called her out and said there was no way it was an accident. She said she just didn't realize how strong she is since she expects herself to be weak due to being sick. Apparently, she has the flu and invited us over with our child anyways. I got mad and raised my voice. She started trying to diffuse. It was working, honestly. I was doubting myself. Then she dropped a bomb I didn't expect. "You're just so hard to get along with. I just didn't expect you to be the one my son ended up with. I'm glad he did, but I expected someone more biblical. I love you to bits though." My husband, to my surprise, jumped up and yelled, "What the F does that mean, Mum?" She looked startled, then scolded him like a frickin' child. It was so unexpected that I just sat back. She kept talking and talking, then said something about disciplining me like a child, and it didn't even go in that deep. This is ignorance. If it had gone deeper, I'd understand. My husband, for once in our marriage, stood up to her. He blatantly asked, "Did you do this on purpose?" At first, she said no, then relented. "I didn't know it would actually go in. I didn't know it would draw blood." My husband told her to get the F out. All of this in less than 15 minutes. He told her to never call him again and that we'd be moving. She started yelling, and he shoved her out of the door and slammed it in her face. I told him that if he was serious about moving, good, but I'm not staying until we find a place, and neither is our kid. I also demanded therapy and to never see his mum again. He agreed. My sister picked us up, and the little one crashed on her couch. My sister looked at my arm and said we needed to go to urgent care now, so here we are. They said it needs 2 stitches, so we're waiting on that, and I'm going to receive a tetanus booster and some other shot that I'm missing. We spoke to the clinic cop, and he said that it was probably an accident and basically brushed us off, so we're filing a police report tomorrow. I'm so tired. I wish I could say it's a happy ending, but I'm heartbroken. I seriously doubt my husband is going to hold true on his moving promise once he sees rental prices compared to the amount we pay his mum. My sister said we could have the living room and pay half of her rent, and if he doesn't have a place picked soon, I'm gonna do it and file for divorce. Send me strength, guys. Okay, I guess that's kind of good news in a way. I mean, at least your husband has realized something that his mum did was wrong, but that's it. Like, I thought he was going to turn a corner there, and he popped his head round, and then he was like, actually, no, I'm not going to bother. I was so close to being like, oh, finally he's realized, but no. Well, I mean, I say that he has spoken well. I'm not sure if I believe him yet. We'll see in the next few posts, but I don't know. I feel like the initial reaction to all of this was just so ridiculous that I'm not quite sure if I'm really believing this. But as I said, we shall see. As for you, OP, you'll be all right. I believe in you. It's a good thing you got your sister there. You've set your stall out early. I think you've done the right thing here, being like, no, this is a huge thing that's just happened. And also, yeah, you don't stab somebody by accident. This is not the sort of thing you go, oh, don't worry, like, oh yeah, just apologize and we'll get over it. She has actually come at you with something pointy. And also, I don't realize my own strength because I've got the flu. That might be the worst excuse of the 21st century. Okay, later that same day, we got our second update to this one. My husband called me around 5 this morning and informed me that after some thought, he does not want to move. Wow. I guess a few hours is enough time to make that decision. He said my mother-in-law came over and let herself in. He swears he wouldn't have opened the door. I doubt it. And they talked for a while, and that she's genuinely sorry and offered to let us keep the house for free if we maintain the yard better and let this go. I'm not proud of myself, but I lost it. I called him out on never supporting me on anything ever with his mum, and he just kept making excuses for her past behaviours. This woman spanked our child hard enough it left a mark when he was less than 18 months old for knocking a cup over onto her, and he excused it as, well, she did it with us too. She just parents that way and views him as her own. She loves him so much and just jumped the gun. Yeah, I love my kids so much. I spanked him and left a bruise. Nice. Anyway, this whole ordeal makes me realize just how freaking broken our marriage is. Her thinking my son is hers is a huge issue. Not an excuse for beating him up though. I feel like a terrible mum. I've allowed her to do so much. She never laid a hand on him after that, but looking back, she said some awful stuff to my baby. She called him the R-word slur when he was 3 because he spilled a plate of pasta and cried over it. That's just one example. Reading the comments here has made me realize how bad this actually is. I genuinely don't think she meant to break the skin, and we don't have the kind of relationship where she joked with me like that. I think she meant to poke me to hurt me and then accidentally used too much force. This is getting long and I'm sorry. I'm kind of word dumping while I wait for my sister to wake up so we can go file a police report. I don't want to tell her all of this because she's already so angry on my behalf that she's almost called my father-in-law to get him to sort out my husband. I told my husband he can stay there and I'll move in with my sister. He demanded that our kid come back to live with him, but I refused. He's welcome to see him, but he cannot take him anywhere because he will not be seeing my mother-in-law. My husband asked if the little one could ever see my mother-in-law again, and I said no. And as I started explaining that she'd also been hurting him, my husband just kept yelling, but she's my mum and his grandma, so she's freaking going to one way or another, over and over again. He hung up on me when I said, not after I file a police report. I'm not doing this. And sent me some texts about how I never cared about him and how his mum is right because if I loved him, I wouldn't do this to him. His mum has also texted me. She's apparently so sick and upset that she can't sleep. I've not responded, but since the last post, I've received 4 texts. The last one includes a fun note about how even though I hate her, I cannot take her grandson from her, and if I try, she'll fight back. I screenshotted it all, and I'm going to hand it over to the police. In one, she admits that she was only joking around when she poked me, and claimed that it only went through because my tattoos weakened my skin, which is BS. Yes, that is the biggest load of BS ever. I'm rambling. I'm sorry guys, this will probably be my last post for a while until this is sorted, but my sister told me to update something so you guys know we're safe and that I'm filing a police report and for divorce. To the 2 people who messaged me and asked me not to be hasty in deciding to leave him, well, he forced my hand. Have a nice Tuesday guys. I'll update if I remember to once we get the ball rolling. You've all been a tremendous help. Thank you for welcoming me into your community and giving me the confidence to handle this trash and not feel crazy. I mean, I know I say it often guys, but that is the beauty of Reddit. You get real people giving you real advice that, who knows, may have been through similar things. Anyway, there is another update to come, and this one was the next day. I am filing for divorce. I meant to update a bit sooner, but things happened and I needed legal advice and I was exhausted. For brevity's sake, well, to keep this from being a novel, I'm going to use bullet points. My husband and his mum both sent me over a dozen texts apiece. My husband said he wants a divorce because I can't possibly love him if I hate his family this much, so I agreed. He then backpedaled pretty hard and admitted he was trying to manipulate me, but F that. His mum still hasn't actually apologised. We filed a police report. The officer was sympathetic and agreed it's assault, but said not to expect too much because it likely won't go very far. They went out and spoke to her. I've got no clue what she said. They didn't arrest her, just warned her to expect a court day and to leave me alone. She immediately texted me to stop and actually leave her alone. I didn't respond. I've had doubts about the police report, but I'm not going back on it. This all happened before 4 PM, so great day. I'm filing for emergency custody until this is sorted due to yesterday evening, which is why I wanted to post. Any advice on how to do this, where to report to, how soon they'll grant it, is so appreciated. I can't give out my location, I'm not comfortable with it, so general advice is fine. Our kid usually goes to an in-home daycare from 8 to 5 every weekday because of our work schedules. Due to me going in at 2 and not getting off until super late, I drop our kid off and my husband picks him up on the days I work. My little one didn't go to daycare yesterday. My aunt came down and watched him while my sister and I handled everything because I didn't feel comfortable, since the daycare can't say no to the child's father. You guys really got to me in the comments, and I texted literally anyone I could think of who I trusted my baby to come and watch him. He stayed at my sister's apartment. At 5:45, the little one's daycare teacher called me in a panic, asking if I dropped him off because he wasn't there to be picked up. I'd forgotten to call her to tell her we wouldn't be coming in, so I apologised and explained actually that he wouldn't be coming in for a little while. She said his dad was outside to get him and asked if everything was okay. I said no, and to tell him that the little one isn't going back to daycare. She hung up. I got a text asking where I am and when can he pick up our son. I said he's welcome to come and see him, but he can't take him to see his mum. He didn't respond. So, I'm on frickin' edge. I don't think they would kidnap him, but it's so terrifying to think about, and I don't know what my mother-in-law has been saying. I just can't be sure. Lastly, I'm going to my aunt's house later this week. She has a guest room and is going to watch my kid every day and let me take her car to the shop for work. I'm going to pay her rent and plan to switch bank accounts and move my money over ASAP. It's within state lines and about half an hour away, so we're okay legally. It also has more space and a backyard so my son can play. Also, some background, since a lot of people think I'm being hasty about the divorce. Yeah, you know what, I would slightly agree with that, and I hope this context will sort of give us more information because, you know, without knowing this, it does sort of feel like a one-off incident, but you can kind of tell that there is a lot more that has happened and this has been an ongoing thing. I mean, from the first post, OP said this has been a thing, this sort of rift between her and her husband's mum for ages. And it does seem as if, yeah, maybe her husband has always been on his mum's side rather than hers for no valid reason. My mother-in-law, OP says, used to love me. She didn't like my tattoos, but I didn't have a lot of the time, so she just brushed it off, aside from some passive-aggressive comments. We moved in with my mother-in-law and stepfather-in-law while I was pregnant, under the impression that we would buy the house once theirs was done being built, the one they live in now. My mother-in-law asked that I take my piercings out. We thought about it, but I relented because it was supposed to be a less than 6 month thing. They moved like 4 months later. I could still put in 2 of my piercings. I only had 4, nostril, septum, and my ears. I could put my ears back in. She noticed and threw a hissy fit over my basic earring holes and said, part of the lease is that they cannot be in. Yep, we went from buying to renting, and my husband didn't even tell me. Apparently, our rent was cheaper than the note would have been, so he agreed. This became a pattern. I'd tell my mother-in-law, no, my son can't have something, do something, go somewhere. Then she'd ask my husband, who'd say, sure, mummy, anything for you. You're the best mummy ever. Not really, but he may as well have done. So for the first 1.5 years, my son was basically being parented by my mother-in-law behind my back, and I didn't even know. She was our daycare because we both worked 9 to 5, basically on most days, until she spanked my son so hard it left an actual handprint which bruised and welted. 4 months she didn't see him. Then my husband started sneaking him over while I wasn't home. Then I'd come home and they'd be gone to get ice cream or to the park. I caught him finally when my son started talking and said he was going to Nana's. My mum doesn't live here, so it clicked. I was weak, so I caved and I started going too. That's when the pasta incident happened, along with several other things. We started going less and less. I'd been tattooing at that point for a bit, and I'd amassed a lot of pieces. My mother-in-law had only seen me briefly in long sleeves and long pants, so she hadn't noticed, but when she saw them, she claimed I was violating the rental agreement and then tried to throw me out and keep my son there with my husband. My husband offered me an apartment and said he'd pay for it from the money he was getting from his mum. Money I didn't even know about. I refused and said if I left, my son was coming. My mother-in-law relented. Okay, wow, this is very, very important context so far. Let's carry on. She got really passive-aggressive when I started inking her son. I'd done small pieces that were hidden on him. It took her a little while to notice. And was outright abusive to him. She started making comments about, well, I just expect my grandson to show up one day with a tattoo. I dare you to touch him with that thing. If he ever gets one, I'll beat the devil out of you. And, grandson, you love yourself so you don't get tattoos and holes like them. My son actually said he didn't like mine at one point, but later admitted he did, but Nana said it was bad when he told her about some of them. My husband actually supported me then and told her to F off. We rarely saw her for a while. Then she bought this stupid massive jungle gym for our son for his birthday recently and said it had to be set up at her house. My son begged and begged to use it, so we let him, and then she stabbed me. This isn't me just wanting a divorce or throwing away years of a relationship. I know you guys meant well, you were polite, but F off with that. My life has been turned upside down. I'm freaking terrified and I don't know what to do. I've never even been in a courtroom. I've only filed a police report once in my life other than this. I'm filing for divorce, not because I want to, but because I realised I'm being abused, and this isn't okay. Also, I have enough money and resources to get by. Thank you for the outpouring of help and kindness and all of the amazing advice. We have our ducks in a row as far as documentation, and I'm going later with a police escort to get my kid and my things, including paperwork, thanks Messenger. I've contacted a lawyer and I'm moving the process along. And then we got one little micro update to round off this start to the story. A quick update. Might last for a while until the legal stuff is over because I'm honestly overwhelmed. This was posted, by the way, just a few hours after the previous one. My lawyer said I can leave this up since there are no names or locations. My soon-to-be ex-husband knows that we are at my aunt's. He said he doesn't want to pick up my kid, not that I offered, or see him right now because my mother-in-law is so distraught that she plans to check herself into a facility, and he blames himself for her being like this. I saved that text. My lawyer is helping get everything ready for emergency custody. I took my deposits out of the account and put it into my own per my lawyer's advice. And lastly, my mum found the photo of my kid. We're getting copies made. Looking at it makes my blood boil. That's my freaking baby. I should have handled this a while ago. She also found a copy of some of the insane trash my mother-in-law sent me when I first started apprenticing at the shop, basically saying I'm an unfit mother because my modifications are sending me to heck while my son will be in heaven. Therefore, I'm abandoning him. Anyway, that's all for now. I feel better. Okay. Wow. What a start. I feel like the photo there that OP is referencing that her mum has is probably a photo of the bruise and the welting on her son, which is just completely horrible. I mean, that is a whole lot worse, in my opinion. I'm not sure legally, but assaulting a child is surely worse than just common assault of an adult. If you're gonna go to the police with something really serious, I would lead with that. But yeah, formulate an entire set of documents, evidence, whatever, messages and photos, of course, and yeah, get that process started ASAP, because at this point it feels like it's only going in one way, and I think it has to be honest. My mother-in-law stabbed me, and somehow I'm the jerk. Update 4. My previous posts are jumbled messes. I'm sorry guys, I was emotionally dumping here because there was so much I couldn't say in my real life. I'm going to try and make this one a little less wordy. So, I got awarded emergency custody and we have a hearing not long from now. I don't feel comfortable giving dates or more info on this. Originally, my lawyer advised against even going for it because my soon-to-be ex was only leaving evidence when he abused me, not my child. But now my soon-to-be ex cannot come near us until the court date. Police escorted me the day after my last post to get our things. My soon-to-be ex had the locks changed and at first wouldn't open the door for the police, but relented. An officer waited by the door while I gathered everything up in trash bags. I'd gotten all of my important stuff into the car, including my son's birth certificate and shot records. Thank you guys for reminding me of those. And I was loading up my son's toys when my mother-in-law got there. She peeked past me into my son's room and started ugly sobbing on my shoulder, clinging to me. I shook her off after a few seconds and kept loading toys and books. I finished up and started stripping my son's bedding, and she lost her mind, screaming about how she bought that toddler bed and I couldn't take it. She literally kicked it so it slid away from me and grabbed the pillows, holding them to her chest like a petulant child. I started to argue, but I just shrugged it off and said I could buy him a new one. She then demanded to go through the bags that were in my car already. I refused. She apparently tried to help herself into my vehicle because after she slunk outside, I heard an officer shouting at her. I finished up. My soon-to-be ex asked if we could talk. I declined and left. He dug his own grave a few nights ago. I completely stopped responding and sent one text telling him to go through our lawyers if he wanted to talk, and that if he wanted to see his son, he may only text, not call, and we'd work something out. He kept texting and calling. I blocked my mother-in-law's number, so she took to messaging my sister on Instagram, demanding I bring my son back and talk this out with her son, like adults. Quite a change of tune, huh? My sister let it slip that I'm pursuing a clause that would prevent my mother-in-law from seeing her grandson, since I have proof of a few events that would be considered abusive. And now, suddenly, she's loved me this whole time and wants to fix everything. My soon-to-be ex realised I wasn't responding, so he drove to my aunt's house. My lawyer said not to lie about where we are. She wouldn't let him in and told him to leave. They started shouting. My mum and sister took my son upstairs, and when my soon-to-be ex saw him walking with them, the stairs are in view of the door, he started pushing against the door as my aunt was trying to close it. He shoved it hard enough that my aunt fell, so he bolted inside and up the stairs. He started banging on the door, yelling for my son to come out right then, or else. My mum was yelling, "What the F does or else mean? What are you gonna do? Hurt your kid? Let your mum hurt him? Go to hell." That was paraphrased, but she was losing her mind through the door. He was yelling back at her when I caught up, and in a moment of stupidity, I shoved him. He shoved me back and kept shoving me, screaming in my face. I ran back down the stairs and he frickin' chased me. He'd never acted like that before, so I panicked and locked myself in the bathroom, which he then tried to push his way into. At some point, his ride over, my mother-in-law, came inside and started packing up whatever she could see of my sons. The cops came not long after this. My aunt had run to her car and called them. My mother-in-law talked to them first and fed them a lot of BS, but once they realised we were hiding, they sided with us. My soon-to-be ex got arrested. His mum was informed she could have been arrested for theft for removing my son's things. She was removing them when the cops arrived, but she was given the option to give it back and go home. My ex was bailed out yesterday. My lawyer got the custody order set up and it cleared this morning. My mother-in-law also may not come near him or attempt to pick him up, as she is included in the order. I never thought my life would end up like this, and honestly, every time somebody knocks on the door, I feel like I'm jumping out of my skin. I don't know what my soon-to-be ex exactly planned to do, but he's never behaved like that before. He's usually more mental than physical. I don't know what's gotten into him. Well, I do, but it all makes no sense. So, that is the update. My son and I are both starting therapy. He doesn't understand what's happening and misses his dad a lot. All he wants to do is go to my mother-in-law's and play on that stupid frickin' jungle gym. He said he misses her too. How do I help him understand this? He's asked so many times if dad is picking him up or if we're going home soon, and it's breaking my heart. Okay, wow, that is a genuinely mental update to the previous post. Everything seemed pretty chilled, or like not chilled, but I thought it had calmed down a lot at the end of the previous post, but wow, that's ridiculous. Things have just gone absolutely crazy. What is your ex-husband doing? Soon to be ex-husband, current husband, I don't care. What is he doing? He's just panicked and just gone mental, hasn't he? I mean, the more and more this story goes on, it is pretty clear that you and arguably your son as well have been sort of mentally tormented for a very long time by your husband, of course, but also by his mum. Like, that is so scary to think about. That, yeah, you thought, okay, I'm going to work, it's fine, we can leave the kid with my mother-in-law who absolutely loves him and loves me. And then you realize after all this time what's been really going on and what your husband is really like, and it's just like disgusting. But yeah, at least now you know, and you're able to get out of there. Crazy stuff nonetheless. The next day we got our next post. Stabra came back this morning. She came to the main gate with 2 coffees and asked to be let in to talk to me. I could hear her yelling, "I brought her Starbucks. Tell her I brought Starbucks," when the gate office called. I refused, and I told them to call the police if she wouldn't leave, and that she was the one on the photo I was bringing down today for them for the no entry file. They told her she couldn't come in. Our house is on the corner, so we could see her at the gate when we walked onto the porch. We saw her argue for a bit into the speaker box, then back out and leave. I went ahead and brought the photos of her and my soon-to-be ex down to the gate office. The attendant said she left when he mentioned the police. It was all on camera. I'm requesting the video and filing for a restraining order. F this. Also, edit to add, I called the police per the advice of my aunt. They're going out to her house now because she was told not to come back. Ugh, terrifying stuff. You're just not getting left alone at all. The next day, we got another post. Stabra and the coffee update. Plus, advice needed. I called the police back because they never updated me on what happened when they went to Stabra's. The officer said that she swore she wouldn't come back to the community if he didn't arrest her, so they let her be. If she comes back, she will be arrested for trespassing and possibly a couple of other charges, as the community's landlord is sick of this already and said he's done with her coming here and upsetting his residents. We're sending a cease and desist next week. Stabra tried to call me several times after the police visited her. When I mentioned it, the officer said to send her one because they technically didn't tell her not to call, and it's a civil matter, so they won't be involved unless she threatens me openly. Now, here is where I need the advice. My ex informed me that he will no longer be fighting me on the divorce. Since I called the police, he is done, and he wants it quickly and easily over. Sounds good, that's what I want too. He also informed me that he wants minimal contact with our son. He said he would take the lowest possible visitation schedule in exchange for me not going for child support. What? He said if he could, he would sign his rights away and be done, and that he may try while in jail if he ends up going. It's hard for a parent to terminate rights in our area, but he wants to be done. He said he's willing to sign a paper stating this is what he wants so that we can use it in custody proceedings. Basically, he wants to pretend that our son doesn't exist, his words, because he'll never feel right around him and doesn't want the clause keeping my son away from my mother-in-law because it would make visits a pain. My mother-in-law did all of the actual parenting when my ex and his mum were alone with him. What have I just read? I genuinely don't know how to respond, OP continues. I want my son to have a dad, and this came completely out of left field. I feel like he's trying to manipulate me, but at the same time, the texts read as genuine. I'm turning a copy over to my lawyer when I see him on Monday, but any advice on what the F to even think about this? I don't have any advice. There's nothing to say to this at all. It's the weirdest paragraph I've read in a long time. What a mental U-turn from barging in to somebody's house, trying to arguably abduct your own son, to then a week after saying, actually, you know what? I don't really care about him anymore. Don't want to see him. Don't want custody. Not paying child support. That is the definition of a genuine Yui. Now, before I give my overall thoughts on everything here, I think it's worth reading one more post. I mean, it just gets crazier and crazier. We're now 5 days later on October the 18th. Again, this is 8 years ago, as you guys know by now, 2017. But how about this for a title? Well, the title is Stabra Update, but the first line, my soon-to-be ex has disappeared. Stabra came to my work and asked if I knew where he was. I told her no, and to get out as I was busy and this isn't the place. My shop owner came out and told her he was calling the police next time she sets foot in any of his establishments. She sent a slew of texts after being told to leave me alone, basically explaining that her son left a note saying he was going out of town and didn't know when he'd be back, but that it wouldn't be soon. She said she needs us and offered to let us live in her house. I didn't respond. She sent another text asking for just her grandson to come and see her, and that she'd pay for my gas and dinner and a movie for my sister and I to just give her a few hours. She just doesn't get it, does she? I did not respond. She then got nasty an hour later and called me a C word and said I deserved the heartache she feels, and not her. I didn't respond. I just sent it all to my lawyer via email as they came. Yeah, how about this? I'll buy you a lovely dinner. Go and catch a movie with your sister. Just let me see my grandson for an hour or two. No? Okay, well, okay, fine. You're just a massive cunt. That's the switch up I wanted to see. That's gonna work. Anyway, back to the story. Shortly thereafter, she posted on Facebook asking about lawyers for grandparents' rights and a little blurb about her son running away from being a parent and her grandson needing her. A cousin-in-law sent it to us and asked what was going on. I just said thanks and that I didn't feel comfortable explaining. So, my soon-to-be ex is unreachable. My lawyer is trying to do some finagling to keep the divorce moving along, but we don't know where he currently is at all. He did text me and tell me he left a spare key at the house and to go ahead and get anything else we want because when he comes back, he's donating everything and moving, but that it would probably get ruined before then. An officer is going to go with us and let us get the rest of my son's belongings that we couldn't take before, and my toiletries and my makeup. There are other things I want, but I'm scared to take because I don't know about the legality of it. The officer agreed to sign off on an itemized list of what we take, so my ex can't claim otherwise, and the police department agrees that this is all insane and they're siding with us finally, it seems. Okay, wow. And one more edit to add here. The police are looking for my ex. Apparently there was an order in place for him to not leave state before his court date for forcing his way into my aunt's house, and my mother-in-law believes he's left. We're going to the house now with an officer. The officer told my mum and I that my ex is creating more trouble for himself at this point. Well, there we go. I will say this. I do hope that he's safe. That is the one thing that I'm kind of thinking about. Who knows what he's up to? It seems as though he has just sort of run away and probably is fine. But yeah, I do hope that he's safe and not done anything stupid. But what do you even say about what's going on right here? It's ridiculous. It's insane. This is one of the craziest stories I've read. just mental. And to think, it all started by one pretty weird woman stabbing her daughter-in-law with, I don't even know what it was, something that you used to cook a hot dog or something, wasn't it? Like, I don't even know what that is. Is it wooden? I think it's wooden. That has just caused this crazy explosion and what we're reading now. Crazy how the world works, but maybe it was meant to be. I do just love, though, on the one hand, just saying, oh, I'll buy you dinner. You can watch your favorite movie. No? All right, well, I'm just going to completely abuse you then. If one doesn't work, if the nicest doesn't work, go for the abuse. It's like she's playing good cop, bad cop, but she is both roles, and I absolutely love it. Stabra showed up at the house. The most important part of this update is that my ex is safe. They found him. He used a debit card tied to Stabra's account. She called the police and texted me after it happened. The police notified me as well that he is in custody and will not be released until his court date. He just crossed state lines, and according to Stabra's text, she, quote, told him to use the debit card because no one would know. Then when he did, she called the police and told them her plan and helped them to get him. That's a summarized long text. Stabra claims she's helping us because she, quote, can't believe he's doing this to her grandchild. I do believe she's concerned for my son and honestly feel awful, but at the same time, my lawyer said absolutely no contact between them, and I'm gonna trust him. This happened late last night. Yesterday, I went back to the house for what will be my last time. I took the advice here and let the officer go in first. The house was clear and everything was in good condition. There was a lot of trash and the kitchen was filthy, but otherwise it was okay. Mum entirely cleared out my son's room and spent the evening rebuilding my aunt's guest room to look as close to my son's room as possible. My son was super excited to have the rest of his toys and books back. Everything was untouched and perfect in his room, so after wiping it all down, he got some of his normalcy back. My room was wrecked though. I'd taken my clothes before, aside from what was in the washer. Those were nowhere to be found, but it's not a big deal. Everything was a mess in our room. Trash was everywhere, but nothing was broken or damaged. We took photos of everything. Mum was loading the kitchen when Stabra showed up. The officer asked her to please wait outside and have me come out. She had a Walmart bag for me. Inside was my makeup. She had this beaten puppy look and said that she had, quote, saved it from the house when everything happened because she didn't want it to get ruined when she knew how much I loved it all. I took the bag and thanked her to be civil, and she just kind of hung around, asking if we'd heard from my ex. This was before he was found. Asking if her grandson was inside, asking if she could order us dinner, etc. The officer only let her stay for a few minutes and then asked her to leave, which she did without complaints. After going home, I looked at the makeup and it was clearly used. My MAC World lipstick had a hair attached to it. I tossed the lot. Stabra called the police shortly after we left and had a little meltdown about her son going missing and how we were both crazy and hell-bent on hurting each other and that they need to get her grandson because we were dangerous, according to my cousin-in-law, who is apparently staying with Stabra now to help her because Stabra's family believes she is a danger to herself. A few hours later, she called the police about my ex's location, then messaged me. My thoughts? I think she knew where my ex was the whole time. I don't believe her story for a second. She knew where he was, and when he used the card, she called because she's trying to manipulate everyone into removing any blame from her. Hence her bringing my makeup back and playing nice. I don't know where my ex's head is. My lawyer said to completely ignore her unless police contact me, so that's what I'm going to do. I'll update after the court date because this sub is keeping me sane, or if something major happens. Thank you guys so much. Okay, well that is very good news, I suppose. At least your ex is safe. But yeah, I do wonder what you guys think about OP's mother-in-law. I'm inclined to agree with OP. I feel like she's been so conniving and horrible this entire time. I don't think she's suddenly like, okay, yeah, I'm really going to help and I'm going to catch my son and I'm going to get the police on him. I just don't think that she would do that without there being some form of ulterior motive. I mean, who knows? Is she really doing that to make herself look good? Is she now caring more about seeing her grandchild than her own son? Anything could be true here. We just don't really know with this woman. Now, how about this for a follow-up post? Either Stabra is following me or has flying monkeys. This one coming 4 days after the previous. I don't have an update on my ex. I've washed my hands of it and decided to completely be uninvolved in his legal situation, per the advice of my doctors. He won't be out of jail until his hearing, so I have no concerns with him anymore. Yesterday, my mum offered to keep our little one for the evening and let me go out and blow off steam. A group of friends and I went out to a movie and dinner. The group consisted of myself, a couple who I've known forever, a single female friend, and a male friend who is engaged, but his fiancée couldn't make it. This is all important, by the way. My ex knows all of them. At dinner, the couple sat on one side of the booth, female friend in a chair on the outside, a male friend on the other half of the booth with me. When the waiter came to clear the table, the male friend and I decided to share dessert. Our female friend joked that his fiancée would be jealous, so he wrapped his arm around my shoulders and said something along the lines of, "Well, she'll just have to get over it." Everyone laughed. I turned red because he was loud, and we shared the food and left. My cousin-in-law messaged me about my mother-in-law being in a tizzy. Apparently, I'd gone on a triple date with my ex's very best friend. No, this guy has been my friend. He got along with my ex, but they weren't close, and that I was all over him. We shared dessert and smooshed. My mother-in-law messaged my friend's fiancé, who told her to pee off because she's known me as long as he has, and I wouldn't do that to her. So, just a lovely little tidbit of drama. Can this be over yet? It's exhausting. Also, both the friend and his fiancé had visited us at the old house and knew the crazy rules. My friend had to stay outside in 100-degree heat all day to hang out because guys couldn't come inside. Wow, I mean, your mother-in-law gets weirder and weirder, and yep, I'm pretty sure she was following you. Otherwise, how could she possibly have known about this? Oh my goodness me, look at this for a title of the next post. Stabra has been arrested. I mean, this was going to happen, but my word, 6 days later, Stabra has been arrested. And, OP says, it has no relation to me. She was pulled over at a DUI checkpoint over the weekend and couldn't pass the sobriety tests. Her friend's preteen child was in the back seat. My stepfather-in-law is bailing her out today if he can get the money together, as she's cut him off of the joint accounts. He asked me to help because she only had the girl with her because the mum was too intoxicated at the party to pick her up from a friend's sleepover because the kid wasn't planned to come home until the next day. I told him no. It's not my problem and I'm not enabling her. She's driven drunk before, despite hating anyone else drinking at all. And my stepfather-in-law claims this is her second time getting caught. I had no clue about the first time. She's possibly losing her license. So, small update. Stabra drives tipsy a lot, so it was a matter of time. It just feels like a victory because it happened now. I've got no clue who told her about the restaurant, but honestly, it is what it is. I'm happy karma is coming around. Goodness me, there's honestly nothing I hate more than drunk drivers. And that excuse of, your stepfather-in-law saying that Stabra only did it because she was helping somebody else out and someone's mum was too intoxicated. No, if you are drunk or tipsy or you're over the limit, or even in my opinion have had anything to drink, you shouldn't drive. There's no excuse. It's also never that expensive to just call a taxi. It's really not that hard. Maybe you wouldn't want to put a child in a taxi. Think about it before, all right? Don't get drunk at a party. You can't just say, oh, I was helping out. No, you were breaking the law. Also, I'm still pretty confident that she must have followed you to the restaurant because there's no way, based on your description of the people that were there, that one of those people would have told her. I don't even see the relation there between her and any of your friends that were there. She must have followed you, and that is so weird. Now for the next post, Stabra is out. Goodness me, just a few days after the previous as well. Stabra is out. I'm assuming my stepfather-in-law paid her off and has contacted my lawyer via email. I wish I could transcribe the whole thing because holy heck. Shortened and rephrased version here because it was 5 paragraphs of rambling and has too much identifying info and many areas that made no sense. So here we go. Lawyer, I am Stabra, OP's mother-in-law. I understand she has sent a cease and desist letter through your office and will not be contacting her, but I would like you to relay a message for me if at all possible and within legal bounds. I was informed that my husband contacted OP about my legal run-in and would like to inform her it will not happen again. He was not acting on my behalf, and I never asked him to press her for money. I apologise for his behaviour. Also, we will not be pursuing legally mandated visitation with my grandson at this time. Many threats were thrown around while I was angry about the situation, and I revoke them now. I do, however, feel it is best for my grandson to know both his mother and father's family, and as such, I am asking to be considered in any future custody arrangements with my son. Should my son be cleared of his case on a date coming up soon, he does not plan to make OP's life harder than it needs to be and wishes for this to all place favourably for all involved and fully benefit my grandson. My son would like to revoke his claim that he wants little contact with his son and would like to offer a 50-50 split, with me having little involvement but not fully banished from his life, as he will need childcare during my son's working hours, and daycare may not be suitable for a child going through divorce. Let us know if OP accepts the offer and tell her I'm open to keeping my grandson anytime. Thanks, Stabra. So she didn't go through her lawyer like the cease and desist asked her to. She also tried to speak for my soon-to-be ex, whose lawyer claims he doesn't want to see his son as of this morning. So whatever. Keep talking, Stabra. I also find it ridiculous that Stabra is saying, well, I need to be in my grandson's life because who knows, a child going through divorce, it may not be the best thing for him to be in daycare. Well, how about it may not be the best thing for him to be under your care as well? Somebody that has given him bruises and welts before. Yeah, just think about that. Then, 2 weeks later, we got this update on Stabra and OP's ex. My ex's court date happened. My mother, aunt, Stabra and I were all required to appear as witnesses. We all told the same story, the truth, that my ex forced his way in. Stabra claimed she couldn't see if he did or did not, but based upon the state of the house when she entered to get her grandson's things, she knew he did something stupid, but hoped it wasn't too bad and they'd just be able to leave without the cops. My mum rolled her eyes and gave me the look when she said that. The prosecutor asked Stabra why she decided to just start gathering her grandson's things and not see if everyone was okay, to which she responded that she didn't want to be involved and was just panicking because she saw some things knocked over and heard yelling. She just wanted to get my son and get out. She also basically admitted, under oath, that she planned on grabbing my son and leaving, with or without my ex. My ex's lawyer tried to paint me as the aggressor because I shoved him away from the room where my mum had my son, but the judge didn't buy it and asked him what I should have done, given my ex was kicking the door and had knocked over my aunt, hurting her. Yeah, exactly. In general, the lawyer did a bad job. He tried to point fingers at literally everyone else, even though my ex's own statements admit it was his fault. My ex said very little and apologised to us all. Nothing was resolved at the court date, and there's another one set for several months from now, but my ex's lawyer did express that he was going to try and get the date moved up. The general idea is that he could face 1 to 5 years right now, likely on the lower end, or even potentially walk free. Stabra approached us as we were leaving the court date. I was simmering because I really wanted a definitive verdict, unrealistic I know, and her statements annoyed me. She walked up to my mum, bypassing me but also blocking me from getting into the car, and started playing 20 questions about my son. Mum didn't take the bait, told her to mind her own family and stay the heck out of ours, then hopped in my passenger seat. I got my aunt into the back seat and walked around. Stabra asked me a dumb question about whose car I'm driving. I am officially my aunt's tenant, so I have stability and wanted to erase all ties to my ex, so I got a new-to-me used car for cheap from a friend. I ignored her and walked around to the front to get in. She walked quickly around and stood in front of the door, so I couldn't open it, and asked again whose car I'm driving. I said it's mine. She asked how, and I told her to leave me alone. She didn't move, so my mum hopped out and waved down an officer. She saw the cop and left. She later emailed my lawyer asking for a copy of my current expenses so she can have it on record for my ex for child support reasons. My lawyer declined, but said she asked for my car price, rent, bills, estimated money spent on food, clothes, school and work for my little one and myself, and a couple of other things. We filed it in the stack of weird we have as evidence that she's bonkers. And since then, it's been radio silence, not a peep. Hopefully it stays that way. Sorry if this is vague and disjointed. I'll post a more detailed account once all of this is over. But my sister said I should at least update you guys so you know we're all okay. The little one's doing really well. He's going to a Montessori school set up per his therapist's recommendation, and it's really helping. He brings me little trinkets and crafts, and he's really loving it all. My aunt also got him a mini trampoline for the house, so he's pretty spoiled again already. Thank you guys for listening. Okay, well that is great news, but again, that's just the thing that strikes me is what, once again, is your mother-in-law trying to achieve by all of this? Like, why is she asking who bought your car or where you've got the money from to buy a car? Like, is she trying to potentially say to the judge that the OP cannot afford things? Maybe there's another man in the background that she's secretly with who is paying for things like a car, expenses in general, and that is a way of getting her son out of paying child support, or the whole thing might be fake, or I don't really understand it. I just don't get it. What is she trying to achieve? If you got any idea, let me know in the comments down below. Stabra had a public meltdown. I did not think I'd be back so soon, but I thought you guys would want to hear about this morning. My mum is so annoyed that she almost drove to Stabra's house. This was posted 8 days after the previous post. That is Wednesday, November the 22nd, 2017. My mum decided to do a big Thanksgiving party at my aunt's house and invite everyone to see my son, since we hadn't attended one of the family events in a few years. Stabra hogged holidays. Mum officially transferred from her office site to one closer to my aunt's house so that she can see my son more and help with him. She couldn't come to our house often due to Stabra, so when she got a transfer opportunity, she took it. That's a whole other story I'll have to post one day. Anyway, that was earlier this month, so we plan to have a few of her new work friends come by too. My aunt is still experiencing some hip and back pains, so she and mum stayed home and sent me to the store to grab some things this morning since we were super unprepared for that many guests. Mum offered to keep my son, but he begged to go with me to just look. I.e. me buy more ornaments and musical stuff because he's a Christmas fiend at the Christmas decorations, so I brought him along. We got all of our items and headed down the Christmas aisle. My son was riding in the grocery area of the car because the store was packed with people, and I didn't feel great about letting him walk in the literal shoulder-to-shoulder crowds. He picked an ornament near the top of the shelf, so I looked for someone to get it down. I'm too short for that. I had my back turned for less than 2 minutes when I heard my son shriek, "Stabra!" and start trying to climb out of the cart. I grabbed him and started to ditch the car and walk away, but she'd already noticed us and came running up as fast as her ham-shaped legs could take her. Ham-shaped legs. Because I'm extra female doggy right now, let me paint a picture of Stabra before we continue. Imagine a discarded tampon, and you're pretty close. Wow. She was wearing a red, flowy, long dress with a handkerchief hemline and white granny sandals with a long, silver, sparkly cardigan that almost touched the floor. Her hair is white blonde and cut like a mushroom cap around her face. She is short and plump, tomato-esque in that moment, if you will. A tampon tomato. That is brutal, but I have a very clear picture in my mind now, thank you. So she comes running up and holds her arms out to my son, who, being a now 4-year-old, reaches back. I pulled him back and told her to get away from us. She tried to reach around me to talk to my son, going on about her big Thanksgiving tomorrow with turkey presents. She bought my son presents for frickin' Thanksgiving and said the turkey from dinner left them before being cooked. My son asked if we could go and I said no, to which he whined. I repeated that Stabra needed to leave us alone now and that I was grabbing my car and going. Stabra threw the things in her arms into my cart and squared up like she was going to swing at me. I yanked my cart back and turned to leave, and this freaking lunatic bellows, "You stupid female dog!" The entire area went silent, and I froze in my tracks because holy heck. She kept screaming, yelling that I couldn't take my son from the only family he's ever known and that I ruined all holidays for him forever. I stood there like an idiot, deer in headlights through all of it. Everyone was staring, and I had no clue what to frickin' do. Stabra screamed at my son that she was sorry he was caught in, quote, mummy's games. He was crying already, so I yanked him away from the area and started walking away, shaking like a leaf, and she still screamed after us. My grandson, my grandson, my grandson. Come here, sweetie. Nana's sorry. Little one, look, little one. Trying to get his attention, but his face was buried in my neck. A manager came out and asked what was going on. I explained, and he made Stabra leave the store, then personally checked us out and escorted us to the car. Stabra was sitting in the lot and made an obvious effort to record us or take photos with her phone. When I was leaving, the manager had walked over to her car, as I had pointed her out, and was chewing her out. She was screeching and flapping her hands around everywhere like a jerk. I cried when I got home, and it spooked my son pretty badly because now he's clinging to my side. He's sleeping on my legs as I type this, and every time I try to get up, he wakes up and sobs, so I'm stuck here for a while. We're going to try to go see his doctor as soon as the long holiday is over, and I'm hoping this doesn't mess up any progress we've made. As for my ex, he officially changed his plea to guilty. We're waiting to see what that means because my lawyer said it could go several different ways, but that he'll likely get a lesser sentence, but we can start divorce proceedings sooner this way. And just like that, this woman gets even crazier than before. Every single post, it just gets worse. When is she going to stop? Again, I've just got to mention, tampon tomato. That image is burning in my mind. As soon as I close my eyes, I just see it, and it's terrifying. It's a good thing that your ex has changed his plea to guilty, though, because yes, there's a chance that his sentence will now be lessened, but it means that he's guaranteed going to go to jail. Well, he's going to be charged, and yeah, that the sentence will be upheld, I suppose. So that is a good thing, and that is another chapter, I suppose, that you can kind of move on from whenever it happens. We'll see when it does. And as you said as well, you can start divorce proceedings and move on with that. The main point at this point has to be getting Stabra out of your life and just trying to move forward. So these are good steps in that process, I think. All right, now for our next post. Stabra texted my sister. This woman just does not stop, does she? She's just on an absolute mission to ruin people's lives and I suppose get as much contact with her grandson as she can. This was posted 2 days after the previous post. She apologized for the outburst at the store and said that she was just so upset seeing her grandson reach for her and me pulling him away that she lost her cool. She suggested I shop at an alternative store to avoid such a situation again. Yeah, you can't shop her anymore because I might be here and try to steal your son. Great. She also said that she's concerned about me possibly leaving state with my son and requested my sister send her a photo every week of my son with a date stamp. What, like he's been kidnapped and you're trying to get him for ransom or something? Or she'd be sending for an Amber Alert for kidnapping before custody was sorted. Not how that works, but okay. She said her lawyer requested it from my lawyer too. My lawyer said that he did receive an email from her lawyer and is following up to check if it's actually from the lawyer. If not, he will try to convince the other lawyer to report it and will suggest that I file for harassment charges. She went on to say she's just so concerned about my mental health because I'm dealing with a lot and that she herself feels crazy sometimes. Yeah, you don't say. I'm shaking. She could have dropped it after screaming at me in a crowded store, but she kept going. If it is fake, I'll be calling the police. I may try even if it isn't. My lawyer doesn't think it'll go anywhere, but it may give us documentation that it happens. Also in edits, while writing this, my lawyer called and said that the other lawyer did not send the email and doesn't have a client under that name. He believes the lawyer dropped Stabra after the stuff she pulled a bit ago. The police asked that I come to the station to file a report. My sister is emailing me screenshots and trying to get out of work to drive down. I'll update after going to the police station. Also, the whole text had a Thanksgiving theme. My sister told me she blocked her, but actually she didn't, and she's been screenshotting texts as they come in. There have been 5 minor "hello, how is my grandson" texts before this that she didn't mention to me. She now knows to tell me about this. Okay, and let's get straight into an update on that post. So, big news first. We have been granted what is essentially a temporary emergency restraining order until we go to court in a few days. That is great news, and that had to happen. They are really rushing us through at this point because of the events at the police station and immediately after. Also, sorry for not updating sooner. I know I promised to post right after the meeting, but I needed some time to take everything in. My mother and I waited at the police station for over an hour and a half before we got to talk to someone because our case was not a priority amidst some other things that were happening. Justifiable. Lots of crazy stuff was going down according to local news sites during that time frame. We went back and were taken to the chief of police's office, and he was not exactly happy to see us. I showed him the messages and informed him that we had sent a cease and desist that she was choosing to ignore. I showed him documentation and explained that she was impersonating a lawyer to harass us, which in my state is a crime. He waved us off, dismissing it as a civil matter until I said that. So thank you to whoever pointed out that it is in fact illegal to impersonate a bar-registered person. I've got another question though. What happened? Oh, she got bailed out, didn't she? With the DUI charge. But surely that's going to go to court at some point as well, no? I mean, she's got a lot of stuff hanging over her head right now. Anyway, the chief of police looked through our literal stack of papers showing harassment and said he'd be sending a car out to tell her to not contact me again, and that doing so would be considered harassment, which is a punishable offence. He said he wouldn't arrest her for harassing me right then, but would be keeping copies of the information on the falsified lawyer letters in case the actual lawyer comes forward, and that I was welcome to go file for a restraining order, but he didn't believe that I'd get one. He took down my information and sent me on my way, assuring me that one more contact from her would have consequences. The details here are blurry. I got them secondhand from a few angry relatives of Stabra's who messaged me after the fact to tell me what a terrible person I am. The cops visited Stabra's house later in the evening because of the crazy stuff happening. She claimed, at first, to have no knowledge of the text to my sister and showed her phone, from which she'd simply deleted them. She'd also conveniently been with her sister all day, who said she could not have possibly sent or deleted any text due to her being there. Yeah, that's how that works. The officer informed them he had evidence otherwise, but Stabra stuck to her guns. The officer told her to cut the trash and left. Some time later, an intoxicated Stabra began making threats against her own life. She said she would unalive herself if she didn't know that her grandson was safe before bedtime and that her entire life had fallen apart, so there was no point in trying to survive anymore without her son, my stepfather-in-law, and her grandson around. Her sister, who was also intoxicated, stayed there all night, i.e. filled Stabra's head with more stuff because she's even worse, to make sure Stabra was okay. Lol, not what she's ever done before. She hypes up people before confrontations for fun. After midnight, Stabra called what she believed to be my mother's phone number and got no answer. The number was actually misdialed, but our apparent refusal to answer a call we never received from somebody we have legally pursued no contact with sent her over the edge. She locked herself in a bathroom and informed her sister she was going to unalive herself. Now, she's done this before. Usually the person outside will bang on the door and plead with her, coaxing her out and making her feel better. I've done this, my ex has done this, my own freaking mum, who doesn't even like her, has done this. Stabra's sister, though, did not. She called 911. I don't know what happened after that, but Stabra's been put on a 24-hour hold with the potential for a longer stay. She ended up being released to the care of the absent until now stepfather-in-law, with instructions to stay away from us. I can't go into more details at this time, but we were told to file for a restraining order first thing Monday morning, and we did. I've been typing since we left. As of right now, we have a sort of emergency protection against her, and it will likely become an order covering myself and my little one for 1 year, at which point it will be reapproved or denied. My lawyer believes we have a good case for reapproval because she is proving her instability. Stabra is not allowed near us, and if she breaches this order, she will be arrested. We requested the tapes from the grocery store, by the way, but were informed they weren't available. My lawyer is pressing as to why, as it would be a great help in our overall plan. If my ex gets any visitation, he may not bring our son near Stabra at all due to her explosive temper. We're looking to make my son's order hopefully extend until he's 18 because after the details I've learned this weekend, I fully believe she would kidnap my child. She genuinely believes I'm evil incarnate sent to destroy her family. I'll explain it all once the court case is over, if I'm allowed. For now, I'll just be sharing old Stabra stories though. Well, OP immediately goes against this in her next post, a holiday Stabra update. We've jumped ahead here by about a month. This was posted on December 29th, 2017. First off, happy holidays. My son and I had a great Christmas with only a couple of hiccups. My ex was released from jail. More or less, he got time served with mandatory counselling, purposely leaving out anything identifiable here, and I won't be answering questions about the court date. He didn't reach out on Christmas at all, and we did get word that he is still attempting to give up his rights to my son. I've got no clue where he's staying, and I don't care. The divorce is moving along from here on. Stabra ended up getting herself arrested on Tuesday. We got our restraining order pushed through against her based on her own actions a month ago. We also found out that she had essentially threatened my life and my mother's while having her meltdown directly to police officers. Tuesday, the day after Christmas, my mum and I decided to run to the mall to make a couple of exchanges. We didn't see anyone there at all that we knew, just popped in and out while my son stayed home with my sister. When we got home, my sister and my son had gone to lunch. On the porch were several gift boxes. They were all blank tagged, but listed for my son by name in a handwriting I did not recognize. I opened them because I'm paranoid, and inside one was a note in the same handwriting detailing how much the gifter loves my son and how sweet and precious he is, and that if he ever needs anything, he knows where to go. It was signed from Stabra, but not in her handwriting. I called the police and immediately checked the cameras we installed after the last blow-up. Stabra's sister was clearly visible placing the boxes. The police confronted her and she admitted to doing it for her sister because the restraining order prevented her from giving the gifts, but not having them delivered. The officers explained that whatever Stabra had told her was BS and that she was acting illegally. Stabra first played dumb, then eventually admitted to having the gifts delivered, breaking down in tears and begging to speak to me. I refused, she was arrested, and then almost immediately bailed out, so that is where we're at. Absolutely insane. Let's get in now to the final post of this entire saga, I'm sorry to say, before I give my overall thoughts on everything that's happened. This one comes in 2018, January the 22nd, so about 3 to 4 weeks after the previous. You guys were right. Stabra was following me. She ended up getting herself arrested again and spent 5 nights in jail before being released. She's apparently been doing it on and off since the breakup, just keeping tabs. The divorce is moving along. My ex has agreed to all of my terms, so it's just a matter of going to court and getting it all settled. He disclosed that he'd been cheating on me for quite some time with a work friend and that he wishes my blessing to be with her. Oh my goodness. I just agreed because I'm over it. It did sting, but it's over and done. He also still does not want to see his son. So he's been cheating for a while and doesn't care about his own kid. What a great man. After my ex said he was moving in with his girlfriend, I actually went on a date myself. A longtime friend invited me to dinner and drinks, and after some pressure from my mum, I went. After dinner, we walked to a corner bar and had a couple of drinks. Then he walked me back to the parking garage and to my car. When we got there, he kissed me on the cheek and said goodnight, and we agreed to go out again later that week or grab lunch. After he left the level, I started to back out and I saw Stabra running at my car, red-faced. What the heck? That is terrifying. That's actually that's genuinely sent shivers down my spine. That you're having like a nice night out, you're thinking, okay, look, my ex has moved on, I've got to, start living my life a little bit, I'm going to go on this date, oh, it's really nice. And then out of nowhere, late at night, you see your mental mother-in-law, red-faced, running at your car. What on earth? She started hammering on my passenger window and screaming. I called the cops and she didn't leave, just kept screaming about how she's got me now and started kicking my door. That is terrifying. The cops rolled up and she started shrieking about how adultery is illegal in our area and demanded they arrest me. Instead, she got arrested. She consented to a search of her car because she smelled of alcohol, in which they found a notepad with notes listing what they believed to be my work hours and an outline of my son's school schedule, recess, lunch, whatever, basically whenever he's outside during the day. Stabra basically openly admitted that she planned to snatch my son while she was screaming at me, saying I'm a bad mother and that she's going to make sure he's growing up right. We're pushing for her to be held for psychiatric help because this level of crazy is out of character even for her. I reached out to my ex about her actions and he just responded, "Keep me out of it." Oh my word. Other than that, it's quiet. That's like a ridiculous sentence. Other than the fact that my mother-in-law almost attacked me late at night when I was in my car and has said that she's going to try and... it's just a ridiculous thing to say. Try and kidnap my own son. It's been quiet. Great. I'm freaking paranoid now and scared, and I've got no clue where she is or what she's doing. My son's been pulled from school. My aunt is working to get everything set to homeschool him. It's such a trash show, and any advice is really freaking welcome. And guys, I'm actually gutted to say that right there is the last post. I can't quite believe that it ends like that, and I'm actually very worried that it does. I'm just checking right now to make sure that that is the case. But yeah, that's it. That was 8 years ago, and that is the last thing we heard from this user, at least on this account. So I have no idea what happened after that. She's not posted anything on this account, at least to this day. That's scary, especially like after what we've just seen and heard. Pretty tough to end it on that, but I mean, like, there's nothing I can do. That's all we've got. But yeah, that is really scary. I hope that OP is all right. As you can tell, I'm a little bit lost for words. I said that I wanted this to end on a positive note. I'm not expecting miracles here. It's going to be it was going to be tough, but I didn't want it to end like this, where I'm now left thinking, is OP actually safe? Yeah, look, it's been an adventure, not the way I wanted this to end, but yeah, I guess that's it. I hope you enjoyed this story. I don't know. All I can say is that it's just like a shocking ending and horrible stuff. But yeah, that's going to do it for this one. Catch you on the next.